In anticipation of the second Sonic movie, I decided to rewatch the first film. I actually hadn't seen it since it first came out, where my initial impression was, yeah, it's alright, I mean, it's pretty good, I guess. I didn't really feel that strongly about it one way or the other. I was just kind of amazed that it didn't turn out as a complete disaster like everyone thought it would be after that first trailer, so that alone kind of made it a huge victory for Sonic in my eyes. But I figured I should probably make a video on the first movie before my perception of it is permanently altered for better or for worse by the sequel. So I decided to give it another watch, and I wrote down my thoughts, and I will tell them to you now. The fact the movie starts with a, "Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation" style opening scene. It's so cheesy and stupid that I kind of like it. Like the first time I saw it, I rolled my eyes, but it does kind of make sense with movie Sonic's pop culture obsession. Longclaw being introduced, then instantly dying is just so funny to me. I can't be alone on this, right? Like, Longclaw is introduced 2 minutes 4 seconds into the movie, and she's officially gone from the movie and implied to have died at 3 minutes and 34 seconds in. This whole Sonic's Island backstory sequence was just so comically fast, but I mean, then again, it is a Sonic movie, so that checks out. Like, I understand for budgetary reasons this is a live-action movie, not an animated movie, but it would have been really nice to spend longer than literally 2 minutes in Sonic's world, because it looks really cool. Like a way cooler setting than Earth, but whatever. Look, I hate to be the fucking CinemaSins ding guy, okay? Like, obviously, this doesn't matter at all. But if they had easy access to a bunch of teleportation rings, why the fuck did Longclaw choose to stay and die for literally no reason? I mean, the reason is they needed some contrived sad backstory for Sonic, which again is fine and all, I understand it's a movie, but I just hope you understand I was genuinely laughing my ass off at this entire sequence the first time I saw it. Okay, so after dismissively making this joke, I decided to look into it, and I found out from this Tumblr post that there actually was an earlier version of the movie which had an extended intro where Longclaw escaped to Earth with Sonic and lived with him for years until she dies peacefully, and her final wish is for Sonic to stay hidden. Apparently this version was a good bit longer and showed Sonic falling in love with Earth as a child and stuff. However, honestly, now that I'm really stopping to think about it, it does kind of make sense why they just cut all this and just rush through the backstory as quickly as possible for pacing reasons. Honestly, it's just funny to even see a backstory for Sonic at all. Like, he's Sonic. Sonic has been around for like 30 years, and this is basically the only time any piece of media has attempted to explain his origin besides like the comics. Like, the games have never even attempted to broach this subject. Like, where does Sonic come from? Like, who cares? He's just Sonic. He's just been around doing Sonic things. Why does he need an owl mom for one scene? And why is his mom a giant owl, not like some other fucking hedgehogs or something? But I guess it's just different when you're making a movie, especially with this whole weird space alien angle that they repeatedly play up throughout the film. Like, I have no problem with these giant teleporting rings being such a major plot element, but like they could have said it was just a different dimension or something, but they explicitly go out of their way to explain it in terms of different planets, and they call Sonic an alien a bunch of times throughout the movie. And I mean, honestly, it makes a lot of sense, because the whole structure of the movie is basically just one of those, we found a friendly alien buddy and the government wants to take him away. Like, the movie is just fast E.T., but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Alright, into the actual movie proper. This whole first scene with, like, the turtle is pretty cute, and Sonic using the speed gun to test his powers. It's not a bad scene to set the tone for the rest of the movie. There's just something kind of funny to me about the fact the Sonic movie takes place in Montana. It reminds me of the original pitch in the Sonic Bible by Sega of America in the early 90s, which explicitly stated Sonic lives in Nebraska. Okay, this is going to sound insane right out the gate, but can somebody please explain to me why the fuck the population of Green Hills is 1981? Like, what the fuck? It should be 1991, the same year Sonic 1 came out. Why the hell is it 81? That's not like the year Sega was founded or the year they published their first game or anything like that. I'm not aware of any kind of significance to 1981 with regards to Sonic or Sega. I mean, they didn't have to make the town's population 1991 as a reference. It's a little on the nose, but like, why would you just make it one digit off? It feels like it was deliberately put into the movie to annoy me, and it worked! Alright, I like Sonic's weird little forest cave. I know it's just a coincidence, but Sonic living in a hole in the forest gave me some nice Sat AM vibes. Oh yes, I see, a Hilltop Zone reference. Okay, very cute. Again, not to come off as too bitchy or anything, but these kind of very surface level references don't exactly do it for me. Like, okay, cool, Hilltop Zone, yes, I remember that from Sonic 2. Like, wow, everybody look at the thing, it's the thing! Like, yes, okay, I get the references, guys, it's not very subtle. I don't know, maybe it's just a little too pedestrian to a Sonic connoisseur such as myself, but I mean, I guess it's better that it says Hilltop Zone than some other random unrelated street name or whatever. Anyways, Sonic then drops his rings and looks at his map and, whoa, look guys, holy shit, it's a thing, but unironically! See, now this is what I'm talking about. This map has all sorts of sick references like South Island from Sonic 1 Game Gear, the Saturn logo, the special stages from Sonic 3, even an insanely deep cut to one of the original development concept images drawn by Naoto Oshima. There's also an emerald in the bottom right, which everyone correctly guessed was foreshadowing that would be followed up on in the sequel. Alright, I know I bitched them out about that hilltop thing, but they won me back over a bit. They can make the deep cut references if they want to. Again, I don't know how much of this can be directly attributed to Tyson Hesse, but he definitely worked his magic on the production a fair bit, so let's just say I greatly appreciate everything he brought to the project. Not too long after this we get our Sanic reference too. Honestly, I wasn't too surprised by this, considering they already included a Sanic shirt design in Forces. I mean, well, obviously I would have loved to see a world where some fucking madman snuck in like a Tails Gets Trolled reference or something. I can see why they went with Sanic. It's a pretty inoffensive little meme that's sort of a nod at Sonic's strange mimetic presence on the internet. Honestly, I'm sure this is an ice-cold take at this point, but frankly, rather than making this some kind of buddy cop-style road trip movie, they should have leaned even more heavily into the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog angle, and Crazy Carl should have been the main human character. That would have ruled. It's kinda weird to see Sonic all like, golly gee willikers, I sure wish I had a friend. Like he has literally never once been like that in the games. Game Sonic doesn't give a fuck. I mean, sure, he likes his friends, obviously, but he's always been portrayed as kind of a loner, always fucking off and doing his own thing. That said, even though it's different, I actually kind of like this take on Sonic. Like, obviously, this isn't Game Sonic. This is Movie Sonic. It's a completely different version of the character. And honestly, I kind of like Movie Sonic. He's a fucking weirdo. He comes off closer to Sonic from the old Adventures cartoon more than the games, and I'm all for it. They kind of give him an in-universe reason to why he would spout off so much dumbass pop culture references, because he's a freak who's never interacted with anyone the entire time he was growing up. He would just read comics and watch TV and stuff. It's definitely a much more vulnerable take on Sonic, but in the context of this movie, I think it works. I like the whole little baseball sequence where he freaks out and causes that huge power surge. Also, again, not to be a fucking CinemaSins about this, but do you have any idea how many people would fucking die if there was an EMP that knocked out power across the entire Pacific Northwest? That would be catastrophic. I mean, they could have just kept it kind of vague, but they explicitly state that's what happened, so... Also, I don't know why, but for some reason the framing device that Robotnik was explicitly hired by the Pentagon cracks me up. Like, he could have just been a more generic mad scientist guy or something, but the fact he's a US government-sponsored drone expert, it's kind of hilarious. Also, after 2 decades of getting acclimated to Eggman, it's kind of weird to be hearing the name Robotnik so many times, but I'm all for it. I always loved that name. Like, I'm totally fine with Eggman at this point, but I still love the name Robotnik. Just hearing it that one time in Generations made my day. Anyway, speaking of Robotnik, I still to this day think Jim Carrey is such a bizarre pick for the role. Like, they didn't even go for a fat guy. We got straight up skinny Robotnik. What the hell? Like, I honestly barely even register his performance as being Robotnik, you know? He's just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, and it rules. Like, I wouldn't say every joke or his lands or whatever, but you can just tell he's having so much fun with it. And I mean, what can I say? I always loved Robotnik as a big hammy villain, so it was a pretty easy sell for me. And again, not a hot take at all, but his sidekick Agent Stone was a surprisingly fun little minor character. It's always important to give Robotnik good minions to bounce off of. Alright, I wish I didn't have to make this observation, but this movie comes dangerously close to showing Sonic's feet. It doesn't quite do it, but it threatens to do it multiple times. Like, you see a digital recreation of it on a screen, and later in the movie you can almost see him through the worn-out socks. If I was working on this movie, I would have gone out of my way to avoid any and all references to Sonic's feet. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this whole innate power of Sonic's. Like, even his stray quills are charged with blue electricity or whatever, which is what Robotnik eventually harnesses in the climax of the movie. It's a little weird, but now that I'm thinking about it, I actually kind of get it. It just sort of eliminates the need for some inevitable pointless plot MacGuffin from the film and keeps the focus on Sonic, which is fine. The whole bar scene is pretty fun. I mean, it's basically just that one Quicksilver scene from that X-Men movie. Actually, from two X-Men movies. They did it twice, but, you know, whatever. It's not like a similar scene existing in another movie necessarily detracts from this one or anything. It's just a fun little sequence, but it didn't exactly blow me away or anything. But it's always fun to see Sonic go really fast and stuff, so it feels warranted. Anyways, the following highway action sequence is pretty good too. I always like seeing Sonic in ball form. My first time watching this, I was pretty underwhelmed with Robotnik's robots, but on a rewatch, I think I can appreciate the more grounded approach they were going for. Like, it would have been kinda weird if he was already making, like, robotic rabbits and crabs and stuff. Also, I know I'm far from the first person to make this observation, but it's kinda weird how the end of this scene hinges on a bomb getting stuck to Sonic's hand and he can't remove it. But, like, it's not even stuck to his hand, it's just on his glove. He could just take the glove off. But there actually is a good reason for this, because in the original design for movie Sonic, he wasn't wearing gloves, and I guess I just figured this scene didn't warrant changing after they redesigned him. Alright, here is no joke, one of my biggest grievances with this movie. He takes too long to get his fucking shoes. I'm sorry, blue arms, tan arms, I don't give a fuck, but his whole color palette looks off without those beautiful, iconic red shoes. He literally spends the first 3/4 of the entire movie without them. Just some boring-ass, generic-looking white shoes, and it looks so wrong to me. I swear to God, this is going to sound crazy, but I swear the movie knows I'm right. He's constantly framed to avoid showing his shoes whenever possible. And in all the trailers and promotional material for the film, he's wearing the shoes because they know it looks better, even in shots where he's wearing the original shoes in the final version. Now, all that bitching and moaning aside, I do understand why they waited so long, because the scene where the little girl gives him the shoes is pretty good, but just like, damn, I don't know, they should have shuffled the events of the movie around somehow and gotten him those damn shoes earlier. Anyways, that's my Sonic shoes hot take for the movie. It's unbelievably nitpicky, but you also know I'm right. And again, I don't want to go too hard on it because I didn't hate the movie or anything, but it's definitely not perfect. Like, a lot of the jokes fell completely flat for me. Like, sense of humor is subjective, and this is a kid's movie, of course, but I did not find this movie particularly funny, despite it often attempting to be. However, it wasn't unbearably cringy or anything, it was very much tolerable. It just sort of didn't really do anything for me. I mean, there were a few funny gags, and Jim Carrey was fun, like I said, so it wasn't all bad. Also, the blatant product placement was pretty fucking embarrassing. Like, I know you gotta do what you gotta do to get your movie made, but come on, this shit sucks. Can we get someone to just, like, cut this fucking Zillow shot out of the movie and upload that version to torrent sites so it circulates around the web from now on? The fucking Olive Garden shit can stay in, I guess, because it is ostensibly a joke. That said, on to the finale. My verdict is that it was a perfectly serviceable finale. The bit with Sonic teleporting around the world with the rings, that was pretty cute. And there was some cool imagery with Sonic all blue and glowing reflected in Robotnik's goggles and stuff. Like I said, it's serviceable. It gets the job done. It's just not anything special. I mean, Sonic just sort of wakes up and he says, "I'm gonna stop running and protect my friends, and I'm gonna beat you now," and then he beats him, and then that's it. The last little scene with him in his room was a cute little bookend, and of course, Robotnik on the Mushroom Planet was pretty good. Seeing him bald with the mustache, even for just one scene, was really nice. And again, I'm very optimistic about his performance in 2, since he seems to be leaning even further into the hammy Robotnik performance here. And the post-credit scene with Tails was fine, although, again, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect. But I'm glad they included it and used Colleen O'Shaughnessy, because that's probably why they got her back for the sequel, which was a good choice. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty decent movie. I just wish it was more Sonic-y. I definitely didn't hate it, but I just didn't exactly love it either. If you ask me, the Sonic OVA is still a much better Sonic movie. I think I've slightly warmed to this film over time, especially knowing that there's a much better looking sequel on the way, which is only possible due to the success of this film. So good job, first movie. You did your job. Now we can have Tails and Knuckles and stuff. As of me writing and recording this, I have not seen the second movie yet, but it seems to be getting a pretty good reception. I'll definitely have a vid going over my thoughts on that movie pretty soon, too, not 2 years after it comes out, so stay tuned.